There's this paper that's been going around online called Your Brain on ChatGPT, and it essentially tries to look at how your brain behaves when you're using ChatGPT to write an essay versus when you're not. Now, whatever you think about this paper, it's probably interesting. Like, it's been getting a lot of buzz because people are worried about whether we're reliant on AI tools more and more, and like how that might affect us, like whether there's like cognitive decline from relying on generative AI tools. But I think what this study misses is that we don't really talk about how the tool is being used. So in the study, they split people into like no tools, Google search, and then ChatGPT. But it's very different to write an essay by copy pasting and compiling ChatGPT responses than it is to use ChatGPT as a writing assistant, like using it to help you refine structure, like refine your thinking and structure your essay, develop your arguments, and then writing in a way where you curate your voice and your argument style, and then you use AI to like help you get there, right? So I think that gets at what I really think is important about generative AI, which is taste. Like, to be able to use AI effectively, you need to know what you like. Like, you need to be able to get a response back from, let's say, ChatGPT and say like, no, I don't like the way this sounds, or I don't like the way this image I generated looks. I want to write in this specific way. And that's when you use AI to help you get there. Because if you don't do that, you're just making slop. Like, you're not engaging with what you're doing. You just take whatever it gives you at face value. And that's where I think you can go back to the paper. That's where the like cognitive debt happens. And with AI, I think like this applies in any field. If you haven't put the necessary time into programming, then you're not going to have the taste to be picky about the code that's generated, and you're inevitably going to end up copy pasting and your code is going to be shit. If you don't put the necessary time into like creating art or design, or even consuming art or design, you're not going to have the taste to be picky about the generated images you use or how you want those to look, and they're inevitably going to be impersonal and uninteresting. And if you haven't put the necessary time into reading and writing, then you're not going to have the taste to be picky about what sentences you use, what phrasing you like, and your writing is inevitably going to be impersonal. And so then I think the question is, how do you develop taste, right? The thing about taste is that it takes intention, in my opinion. Like, to cultivate taste, you need to pay attention to the things around you, and you have to be like curious about them. You have to put yourself in new situations and expose yourself to new things, whether that's like content or like creation, like both count, I think. And you have to have the like wherewithal when you're in that new situation to turn inward and ask yourself, like, do I like this? Like, is this thing in front of me any good? And then really think about what makes that thing work for you. And again, that's in any field. Like, for me, like when it comes to writing, for example, I like writing that doesn't take itself very seriously. So I enjoy when things are like profound, but like not for the sake of itself, you know? So I think great writing manages to take big ideas and make them small, make them personal. That's an opinion I've developed from like reading and writing, but it's not necessarily a right one. Like, a lot of people like very elaborate prose and like very exaggerated stuff, which maybe I don't connect with. But again, so it's my opinion, right? It's my taste. But it means that when ChatGPT gives me like 2 paragraphs that sound like they've been made by like a pretentious high schooler, I read it and I hate it, you know? And so I know that I need a different approach. Like, from there, I'll like describe what I want to say. I'll ask for maybe structure for what I want to write, or I'll write out like a very specific sentence and then ask it for like a word I'm missing. The point is that you use AI to fit into the version that you want, like the vision for what you want. And like, you could argue like that, like even that still degrades writing or like cheapens the process, but there's not really a response to that. Like, I just think like you can't deny that these tools are powerful. There's this Instagram account I follow that I think is a great example. They use AI for graphic design, but they have like a very, very specific style, and they're adamant about this. Like, they've uploaded videos about like how they make it, and they say like random visuals don't get remembered. consistency does. Consistency here like implies style, right? It implies taste. Like you need to be able to like generate things that, like if you're using AI, like it needs to be consistent if you're trying to like create a brand. But that implies that you have something you want, right? Like it implies taste. And they say like once a style is solid, you can create anything inside that universe. I think like that pretty much captures like the power of generative AI, like in its full scope on this like personal level, right? Where these tools are like really powerful. They obviously like accelerate like ideation and like iteration. They help you create to speeds like we've never really seen before. Like definitely breaks down the barrier to entry. Like if you want to be a graphic designer or a programmer or whatever, like the barrier to entry is so much lower. But the only condition for like what you create to have any merit is that you actually like care about what you're making and you have like a specific vision of like what it should be. Like if you aren't critical about the output, then you're just going to create like AI slop, right? Which people sniff out quickly. So I think this is pretty like empowering. Like you can now just like go out and make stuff, and the only condition is that you make stuff that you like.